Good afternoon, everyone. This is Congresswoman Anna Eshoo, and I want to welcome you to our small business and nonprofit webinar with the Small Business Administration today. I understand that we have over 1,000 participants, so we're going to do everything to not only explain what the SBA program is, and the provisions that the Congress approved in the CARES Act. I want you all to know that I'm the daughter of a small businessman. I think I have a very, very strong sense of how they work. And small businesses are essentially the backbone of our national economy. And it's why Congress took the action that we did to ensure that small businesses are protected as we go through this pandemic. The legislation was signed into law on March 27th. It's important for everyone to keep in mind that today was only the 5th day of the program. The centerpiece of the package is the Payroll Protection Program, PPP. Which offers forgivable loans to small businesses so that you can retain your employees and stay in business. I know that there are going to be many questions, and we're going to give as much time to you to do that. If you have phoned in, you need to press *9 on your telephone keypad. If you're connected via your computer, you can type in a question into the chat box, or you can raise your hand on your computer. So let me turn it over now to, and I'm so pleased to introduce her to you, to Julie Clowes. She is the SBA Director for Northern California, and she has been with the SBA for 23 years. So she has a lot of experience under her belt. She's going to spend a few minutes to make a presentation to you, and then we will go directly to questions. So remember, if you have phoned in, press *3 on your telephone keypad. If you're connected via your computer, you can type in a question into the chat box, or you can raise your hand. So Julie, thank you so much for joining us today. I can only imagine what's taking place inside the SBA. I think this is probably the largest program that the SBA, since it was established, has had to implement. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for your work. And as we say in the House, I yield the floor to you.
Thank you, Congresswoman Eshoo, and to your team too. Thank you so much for the invitation today. I am screen sharing. I don't know if that can be seen, but I just, not that it's super critical if you can't see it, but it's just a slight visual. And Matt and to the team, I'm happy you guys to share this with you guys, and you can send it out to all the participants as well. But we have a lot of information that I'm going to kind of go through really quickly, because I know we also have a lot of questions. And so I will do my best to answer all of your questions. I will caveat, as the Congresswoman also stated, these programs are new. We're not even officially, a week into PPP yet. So there's a lot of things I might not be able to answer, but what I'm going to share with you today is what I know as of this moment. And there's still information that's coming out on a daily basis about these programs. So you'll also see through the links where you can continue to get information and monitor the developments as they occur. So first off, I kind of want to just recap all the different things that are actually available under not only the CARES Act, but have been in existence and have been activated as a result of the pandemic being declared. So two kind of buckets that I like to put these resources into. One is a debt deferment or relief bucket, and the other is the loan bucket. So really quickly, the debt deferment or relief, there's lots of things you can potentially take advantage of. So if you have an existing SBA disaster loan from any of the prior disasters, wildfires, flooding, other issues that have happened, your payments are automatically now being deferred until the end of the calendar year through December 31st. That's being done automatic. You don't have to do anything to activate that. Secondly, if you have existing SBA debt, whether it's through the 7A program, 504, micro lenders, the lenders have the ability to defer your payments, and the length they can defer it will depend on the program and different situations. But to activate that, please go talk to your lender and ask about deferments for any of your existing SBA debt. Additionally, there's this, as a result of the CARES Act, there's also this SBA debt relief program. And this is for people who have existing 7A loans or are going to take out a 7A loan between now and September 27th. SBA can pay the principal and interest on these loans for 6 months. So again, this is a program that the lenders are going to need to tap into, so please go talk to your lender to activate that program. On the loan side, so 3 different things I'm going to talk about. Just to also let you know, there is a program called the Express Bridge Loan Program. This is part of the 7A family of loans, government guaranteed loan. It's available through commercial lenders and through our designated express lenders specifically. And I believe there's about 10 of them, 10 or so in the Bay Area. So this is a loan of up to $25,000, and it's very streamlined and faster approval process. So the goal is that the banks can maybe provide you with a little bit of working capital that can act as a bridge until you're waiting for other sources of financing to potentially kick in. But I'm going to spend the bulk of the rest of this time talking about the Paycheck Protection Program and Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. So to kind of talk about both of these, to kind of compare and contrast so you can kind of see the differences and then figure out what's most appropriate for you and your business needs. So Paycheck Protection Program is the new program as a result of CARES Act. It is a guaranteed loan program, so you do need to contact a commercial lender in order to tap into this program. All of our 7A lenders were eligible to participate in this program. Some have elected not to for different reasons, but that's the pool of eligible lenders. In addition to that, SBA is actually onboarding new lenders, and that's happening as we speak out of our Capital Access Office in Washington, D.C. But this program is for up to 8 weeks of payroll expenses and then some designated non-payroll expenses that are interest on mortgage, rent, and utilities. So what this is meant is to pay for up to 8 weeks of your payroll costs, and payroll costs are defined as not only just wages or salaries and that kind of thing, but it's also benefits that you may pay to your employees and those associated costs. So for example, if you offer health insurance, the health insurance premiums, if you have any sort of retirement benefits, the costs associated with those programs can all be bundled into this definition of payroll cost. And then this is, again, like I said, a 8-week period of time that we're paying. So the first thing you need to determine is what kinds of costs you will have. The second piece of this equation is then which pieces or how much of this loan can be forgiven. And so the way that the forgiveness piece is going to be determined is this 75-25 ratio. So of the total loan amount that you receive, at least 75% of that needs to be going to pay payroll costs, and no more than 25% of it can be used to pay these other non-payroll expenses, the interest on mortgage, rent, and utilities. So in order for the loan to be forgiven, the borrower needs to adhere to that formula, lose at least 75% for payroll and no more than 25% for the non-payroll costs. The loan is available to small businesses and to nonprofits. In this case, the nonprofits must be a 501c3 or a 501c19. The loan itself is 1% interest rate, 2-year term, and a 6-month deferral period on repayment right now. The loans are 100% guaranteed by SBA, and in this case, we are not asking for any sort of collateral. You don't have to make any sort of personal guarantee, and the borrowers are not assessed any sort of fees to apply or to utilize this program. On contrast, I just want to walk through the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, which is a loan program, a working capital loan that is meant to help you as a business cover any sort of ordinary operating expenses you might have that you normally could pay, but for effects of COVID-19 on your business, you're no longer able to pay those expenses. So this can include a wider variety of things than the PPP program. It can include payroll and rent, but it also include your accounts payable. So if you have a lot of vendors that you are still needing to make payments on or still getting supplies from, those kinds of things can be included in the working capital loan. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan is available directly from SBA. So you do not go to a lender for that one. You go to the SBA website and you apply through our online application. That'll go directly to our loan processing center. They will process the loan and SBA will then disperse the funds directly. We're doing everything online. So even we're closing the loans even through an electronic process. So we're adhering to the good social distancing practices that we're all being asked to adhere to in this situation as well. So you do not need to make a trip to the SBA office in order to close the loan or receive your funds. As part of the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, part of the CARES Act, I should say, created what I'll call like an enhancement to this existing program. And this is the EIDL advance of up to $10,000. And this advance is also a forgivable loan. So while the overall EIDL loan is not necessarily forgivable, the advance piece of up to $10,000 is forgivable. And this advance is determined as a factor of $1,000 per employee that you have up to $10,000. If you're sole proprietor, yes, you are considered an employee for this purpose of this calculation. The rest of the loan does carry a term 3.75% interest rate if you're a small business, 2.75% interest rate if you're a nonprofit. It's a 30-year term and 12-month deferment on the initial payment for this particular program. And again, you will apply directly through SBA for this one, in contrast to PPP, which is available through the commercial lenders. So there's also, on the last two slides I have are just ways that you can reach SBA. I also want to point out though that SBA, we are certainly open for business and our resource partners are as well. Small Business Development Centers, SCORE, Women Business Centers, VBOX. All these organizations provide free business advisors to you to help you. If you need help figuring out your financing and how to apply for these programs, you can leverage these advisors. Or if you have other business needs during this time, they're there to help you. So free business advisors, SBA district office, we're all here ready to help you, albeit we're doing it all by phone and email these days, but we're ready and here to help you. You don't have to try to figure this all out all by yourself. And the last slide is just some links and everything. Everything is available on our website. Again, I will give this to the Congresswoman's staff so that this can be shared out. But really, if you go to sba.gov, it's pretty easy to navigate and find all the resources there too, and all the information. So I know we have a ton of questions, so I'm gonna open it up now for the questions.
That's wonderful. Julie, thank you so much. A lot of very, very important information. There are just two things that I wanted to add, and that is that on the PPP, Congress appropriated $349 billion with a B dollars for that program alone. And so small businesses are a top priority for us. It is not true that the money has run out, but we knew, given what we were able to get into the legislation, I think you all know that this was bipartisan, so it had to be negotiated. We, the Democrats, wanted more money in this, But we are also poised right now to do additional legislation to add monies into these programs that Julie just described. Not change the programs, but to add more resources to them. So stay tuned for that. But I know that it was out there that the money was gone, and it's not in the PPP program. So I think that we're all set to go, and let's take the first question.
Okay, our first question is going to come from David Palitz.
Hi, David. David's not there. Let's go to the next one.
Okay, our next question is going to come from Yvette Michelle. Yvette?
I'm sorry, I'm back.
Oh, okay. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you very much. Sorry about it. I was writing a few notes down. First of all, compliment SBA.gov. They're open 24/7 for those who wonder how they can contact. There's a phone number. So kudos for the SBA. Now, going to my question, I'm a small business owner that it's myself and one other employee that are working out in the field. So how do I fall into that category? Is it just for the employees, or am I considered into the whatever they're giving to employees, although I own the business, but I'm working out the field?
Yes, so for purposes of the PPP program, you can read through the definition of payroll costs, but yes, how you're compensated can also be included in the definition and your calculation, I should say, of payroll costs, absolutely. And likewise for EIDL, it's meant to cover salaries and expenses. So if, depending on how you typically pay yourself, because that can obviously vary between business to business, but yes, those costs can be included.
Very well. Thank you very much. I sleep a little bit better now.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you. Thank you. Good luck to you. Next question.
Yvette, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Hi,
Hi.
Yvette.
Hi there. My question is in regards to small commercial real estate owners. We have a small family business. We have some properties. That's how we make our living. And we have bills and expenses and mortgages and such, just like our tenants do. And, you know, when they close their doors, they make no money, obviously. And there's protection there that I've read through the documentation. I've been listening to what you've said so far. And it looks like only 25%, if they are able to get their PPA or PPP approved, can go to the rent. But I see absolutely nothing in here for somebody like myself and my family members. How do we get out of this when our tenants say, sorry, I just don't have the money? We end up having to pay, but we're not a bank. We don't loan money, but they just don't pay it. So what is in this bill or bills to come that can help us?
So do you have a setup as a business, or are you just a self-employed and getting like rental income?
So we actually, it's a partnership, but it's just
Okay.
really just me and my two brothers.
So if you have an established business and you file Schedule Cs or other arrangement on your tax returns, you absolutely are a business. Under PPP, remember that program, the intent of that program is to help businesses retain employees or hire them back if they had to let them go. So the other expense bucket is pretty small. Because when you look at the intent of the program, it was focused on the employees. But you could be considered employees for this purpose, and you have to look at the forms of compensation that you receive, and then also how you document it on your taxes. So there's a couple things to look into in this situation to figure out what your actual payroll costs would be that you could claim. The flip side, though, I would tell you to look at the EIDL program as well, because there are other expenses you can cover more broadly under EIDL through the working capital loan than you can for just the PPP. So I would say go back and look at what expenses you have and what bills you need to cover, and you can kind of see what that amounts out to, and then you can kind of see which program might be more advantageous to you. So there's probably a couple things to consider in your situation.
And
Okay.
Julie, would you explain, you used the term idle. Everyone may not know what EIDL stands for.
Yeah, so sorry, government speak, everything's an acronym. So economic injury disaster loan. So EIDL, EIDL, they're all referring to the same program.
And
Thank you.
do those loans work in the same way? In other words, if our tenants don't pay, we still have to pay our mortgage. It's just that we don't get any money. And, you know, I have kids. I'd like to feed them. So is it the same type of situation, the EIDL program? Are you loan money and is it some of it forgiven or?
Yeah, the EIDL advance, which is the up to $10,000, is a forgivable portion of the loan, but the whole loan can go up to 2 million. So there can be more. It's just there's kind of like two buckets, if you will, under one program now, because the CARES Act enabled us to offer this 10,000 up to 10,000 advance that would be forgivable. But the rest of the loan is a loan under the 3.75% 30-year term, and you do get a 12-month deferment. So even if you get, you know, apply for the loan today, you get the money tomorrow or next week, or sorry, next month, I should say, trying to manage expectations here, that you don't have to start repaying on it for 12 months. So that's something to consider when you're looking at, you know, your future cash flow implications as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling, Yvette. Next question.
Next, we'll go to Miriam Green.
Hi, Miriam. Miriam's not there. Let's go to the next question.
Next, we'll go to Greg Ibarra. Greg, are you there?
Wonder what's happening to these people.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, small technical glitch. Sorry. So I may be your quintessential small business owner. I am just a solitary sole proprietor of a consultation firm, a residential design firm, and so I'm not an essential business. When the shelter-in-place order went into effect, I basically had to shut my doors. All of the local building departments are closed, and none of the type of the residential work that I do fits into the category of continuing work that's going on. So, you know, basically residential remodeling and permits for ADUs are non-existent. Can't work on these types of projects. So my work just went to zero, like switching out a light. And so, but yet I still have all of the, as the previous caller mentioned, I still have all of the basic overhead that I still have to pay for: my rent, my, you know, leasing of equipment, my account, all accounts payable, you know, situations or whatever. And I want to know whether, and some of this stuff is, quite honestly, is overwhelming. I mean, I've tried to read through all the stuff, but it's almost like you need someone, a second individual, kind of helping you through all this process. But I don't know whether or not the EIDL is, if I focus, am I focusing directly onto this, or is there money for my particular situation that you can get out of the PPP, or, and then also, you know, like if you get money from one bucket, can you get money from another bucket, and there's a procurement me, and then there's local government. Some of the local governments are trying to help you out by, you know, providing grants and things like that. So I need some guidance on what would best fit my needs to try to take care of some of these, you know, outstanding bills that I've got that aren't, that technically aren't stopping, you know?
Right. So I think, you know, you could, you know, potentially have a case under both programs to apply. So I think if you haven't ever used one of our business advisors, you might want to look into that, to have someone, that's exactly what they're there for, to sit down with you, understand your situation, and help you figure out, you know, which path you should take moving forward, and help you, you know, to the extent you need help, putting any documents together, they can help you with that as well. So,
How does he do that, Julie?
Yeah, that was
So-
gonna be, yeah. That was
Yeah,
gonna
so-
be my, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, there's different programs. So I'll just give you the websites and you can go in and look to see geographically who's closest to you. But the SBDC program is norcalsbdc.org. And that'll give you links to all the locations. And most of them, you can just go on through their website and sign up for the counseling, request counseling. SCORE is also another problem, score.org. That's the national site, but you can still find the local chapters. They're all over the Bay Area. There's 5 in the Bay Area. And those are, again, you can request free counseling services. Trust me, they're queued up and they're ready. Our NorCal SBDCs are actually hiring more staff to help meet the demands to work with more business owners. So I definitely encourage you to do that to help you figure it out, because there are a lot of different options and you need to figure out what's most advantageous to you. And when you overlay the state programs and other things on top of it as well. So there, you can apply for multiple programs, even from SBA. With our programs, we have this concept that we don't want you to duplicate benefits. So you can't apply to PPP and to EIDL for the exact same expenses. Let's say you can't pay yourself twice, once out of PPP and once out of EIDL for your own salary, let's say. But either, you can apply for both programs as long as you kind of isolate and identify different expenses and you're not, double dipping, so to speak.
Right, and that's exactly what I was hoping maybe some kind of an advisor could, help me navigate what pieces from one and then pieces from another or what have you. But
I think that will help you in speaking to the advisor. I think that'll be very helpful to you.
now you mentioned something about the $10,000, sort of an emergency advance, which is more like a forgivable portion. The PPP would be administered by a lender, like a bank, I guess, and then the other program is coming from the SBA. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And so is there a dollar amount associated with the EIDL program?
The overall loan is for a maximum of $2 million, but
Okay.
this EIDL advance, the maximum is $10,000, and that up to $10,000 is the only forgivable portion of that loan. So,
Okay.
if you got the if it's just you as an employee, you could get the $1,000 under that, and that would be forgivable. But that means maybe you still take out, I'm making up number, $50,000 loan under the other terms, the 3.75% 30-year term loan.
Great.
Okay, that's wonderful. I hope that's helpful to you. I'm learning as Julie is talking. There's a lot to absorb. Let's go to the next question, please.
Miriam, are you there? Okay, our next question is going to come from Jenny Del Vecchio.
Hi, Gianni.
I'm here. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for calling in.
Oh, this is helping so much. We've had so many
good.
informations. I mean, this
Oh,
is
that's
right
music
now.
to my ears. That's what
Oh
we
my
want
God,
to do,
thank you.
help people.
So I own a hair salon
Uh-huh.
in a partnership, and we are confused which loan to apply for. We don't have any employees. We have 9 renters in our salon that count on us, and we just need help with overhead.
So you might want to look first at the EIDL program, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, because you can bundle all those different kinds of expenses into that program. You can use the working capital, I should say, to pay for all those different kinds of expenses. Whereas PPP would be more narrowly focused on employees and less so on the other expenses. So if you don't have employees and you have lots of other costs, that probably will steer you more towards the EIDL program.
Our thing is we can't afford a loan. We've been barely making it with the high rents in this area for years. We're on 17 years right now and want to keep going. But we're hoping to have more forgivable with $6,500 in expenses a month on average. I don't think that 10,000 is going to help. I mean, a little bit helps.
Yeah.
So my other question was, when we apply for these loans, my partner and I, are we employees of our business?
You are, yes.
Are.
So for the PPP program, if you're looking at, I encourage you to look at the full definition of payroll costs, because it's broader than what I was able to talk about earlier, but it does include, if you know, the self-compensation. It does include a cap of $100,000 per employee per year. So if you know, for people that paid themselves, you know, more than that, for purposes of this program, you can only count $100,000 per year. But yes, your compensation is definitely included in the PPP program.
I am going to be calling an advisor because that sounds.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Thank you. Good luck
so
to you.
much.
Good luck to you. I
Thank
wish I could have my hair done.
I know, I'm like, I do need a haircut, but
Yeah. We all
not
do.
enough.
Yeah. Let's go to the next caller.
Our next question is going to come from Peter Levin. Peter, are you there?
I am there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey,
you
thank
can,
you for taking my
Peter.
call. I appreciate
Sure.
it.
Sure.
I've been with the same bank for 25 years. And as a sole proprietor with several employees, I use a retail account, not a business account. And my bank, which knows every dime of what I have spent on my business, will not allow me to apply because I'm not a business account. What should I do? How could this be?
So I will tell you a couple different things that I can recommend. So I'm hearing this a lot, and trust me, I hear your frustrations. I understand those frustrations.
And Julie, I hear it a
Yes.
lot from constituents as well.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, the 7A participating banks that already participate with SBA and have signed all the agreements with us, we're all eligible to participate. Some elected not to. Others are participating, but they're also implementing their own internal bank policies on how they want to participate. So my team, we are calling the local banks and trying to figure out who's doing what, who's offering it, how they're offering it, so that we can hopefully provide some good information to people moving forward. Additionally, SBA as an agency, we are onboarding new lenders because we want to be able to create as many potential resources out there for the businesses. So that's actively happening. And as we have that information, we're looking for the ways that the best ways to share that out publicly. So there could be new opportunities coming in. I mean, I fully understand you want to, it makes sense. You want to go to the bank that you have a relationship with, but you can use other lenders, and you might want to start calling around and asking other lenders if they will participate in the PPP and take you on as a customer for that purpose. I will say things are changing daily. So even with particular banks in their internal decisions and policies are still changing. So I know it can be time consuming and it's a little bit of work, but please be persistent and keep checking out these lenders. If you want to see the full list of all the SBA lenders in California and beyond even, that are doing business in the Bay Area, you can look at our online resource guide. We have a resource guide that's unique to this area, and we list all the lenders that have done at least one loan in the last year. So that's a good, starting point as well.
Julie, let me add something to Peter. Can I add something to this? I don't know who your bank is, but I know that many of the constituents that I've heard from had a banking relationship with Wells Fargo. The Treasury Department had a cap on what they could do and essentially what they couldn't do, and that was related to their abuse of consumers and that whole scandal that took place over the last, I don't know how many years. It's my understanding that the Treasury Department just lifted that particular lever on them to get them to open up and to assist people with the SBA loan. So if it's Wells Fargo, Treasury has lifted the strictures on them. And if you don't deal with Wells Fargo, maybe others that are listening in do. and they will know that that the policy has changed thanks to the Treasury Department. I think it was as of yesterday.
I believe so.
On your end, Anna, as you go forward, you know, there's a difference to a bank for a company with 499 employees and 2 to 5, which sounds like the people listening today. And, you know, hopefully you can get them to pay attention to the smaller accounts.
Yeah, well, that's what why we set up what we did. And as I said, we're in day 5 of the program, but I appreciate, was that helpful to you, Peter? Do you know where to go to see who the lenders are?
To some extent.
Okay.
Yeah, there's and I've seen some questions. Yes, you can apply to any bank that is offering the PPP program. It doesn't have to be a local bank. If you find an out-of-state bank, there's a lot of out-of-state banks that are doing business in California. So whatever bank you find that you know, you want to do business with is your choice. You can do business with any of them.
Great. Let's go to the next question. Thank you, Peter. Let's go to the next question.
Our next question is going to come from Jody Ricklin Matheson. Jody, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Hi, Jody.
Hi, thank you so much. We are a C Corp, and presently our employees are working for stock options. However, we still have our monthly overhead. I applied for the $10,000 grant, the EIDL program.
Mm-hmm.
Are we eligible since we don't have payroll but do have monthly overhead?
So yes, you're definitely eligible for EIDL, and you know, you can roll other costs into that. So you might, you know, you'll be considered for the up to the 10,000, assuming you have 10 employees, you'll get the 10,000, and then other funds under that as well. For the PPP program, honestly, I need to go back and read the definition of payroll to see, because there are forms of compensation listed in there. I off the top of my head, I don't remember if it talks about stock options, but it's definitely worth reading the rule to see how it's being defined and see if you would qualify under that as well.
So I may have completed it incorrectly since there is no payroll. I wrote zero employees. We previously had payroll, but right now it's stock options only. So because I put 0, will I be passed over for this $10,000 grant? It was very confusing.
Okay, yeah, for EIDL, yeah, it's employees, and they will, I mean, if you put 0 in there, the default will automatically be 1. So when they communicate back with you, the loan officer gets a hold of you, I would ask them that question and then see if it can be amended right then and there.
Okay, so someone will email me?
Yes, yes. So the email address that you used in the EIDL application is how they're going to reach out to you, because we're doing this all virtually. So please be checking that email account.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate your assistance.
Sure. Thank you, Jody. Next question.
Our next question is going to come from Donna Weber. Donna, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Donna.
Hi, thank you so much. This is very helpful. I have a few questions. One, what forms do I need to provide for the PPP, being that I'm self-employed, so I don't have, you know, pay stubs, things like that. I got, my accountant suggested Schedule C, and I'm just trying to understand what they need from me.
So the lenders will tell you what supplemental documents they want. There is like a basic application for PPP, and you can see that on the SBA.gov website. And that's just some really simple basic information and like an overall lump sum number.
Yeah,
then the banks.
They were asking about payroll reports, so I don't have that being I'm self-employed.
Yeah, well, remember when you look at the definition in the rule of payroll, it's more broad than just, you know, W-2 income, for example. So if you're self-employed or others, you can count, you know, wages, commissions, income, or
so
net
would that be
earnings.
like Schedule C? Like what would
Schedule C, absolutely. So what you're going to do is look at, I encourage you to read through the rule definition carefully, and then you can see there's actually a formula for how the calculations are done in some
Yeah.
samples, and then you can obtain your number, and then the bank's going to come back. The banks need to verify that the lump sum number you put in there, they want to see how you got there. So in your case, they'll probably ask you for your tax returns.
Okay.
They may ask you for some financial statements, but it's the bank's call as to what kind of supplemental documents they want to see to help them justify the number that you put in there.
Okay, thank you. And then my next question is, so I submitted it, and then is it because I've submitted it, I get it? Or like what are the criteria to determine whether I'll get it?
For the PPP program?
Yeah, well, I did for both, so,
Okay.
but just, is it like, oh, great, you're guaranteed, or it's just the luck of the draw, or like, how is it that I would get assistance or not?
Right. I mean, it is the bank's decision for PPP, since it's I mean, technically it's their money that's being lent. And then on the back end, they're getting 100% guarantee from SBA, and then there's the forgivable portion of that as well. So, but technically right now, today, they are lending their money. So they're going to make the decision. I think because we're in such a unique circumstance and we have this 100% guarantee, which we've never had before that I can recall at least, that the banks, as long as you're a small business, you're not in the illegal industry at the federal level, and you meet the basic criteria, and you can reasonably justify where you're getting your expenses from. Right now those applications are moving through. I can definitely say they're being approved, and they're moving through. But you can certainly ask the lender that you're using if they have any how they're evaluating it. But I think they're being pretty generous, and I think they're being pretty fast.
Okay, and then one more question, which is, so would I want to try to apply to multiple banks, or just apply to the one and kind of see how that goes?
Yeah, I mean, I think, if there's any lenders on the phone, they might want to weigh in. I think, they probably would not encourage you to apply to multiple places, but I also think, it's your decision on what you want to do. If you've got a decision from a bank, obviously you don't want to apply for somebody else. Or if you did, you probably want to try to pull that application back. But yes, if you're in a holding pattern, or if you go into the bank and they're maybe they're temporarily, some banks have temporarily stopped taking applications. Some are, because there's a lot of factors that go into this their ability to lend. It's not just SBA program rules, but remember, they all have bank regulators they have lending rules on how much they can actually lend because of their business bank assets, etc. So there's a lot of different factors at play, which is why I also say be persistent and keep going back and keep approaching the banks, because even internally things can change in the bank. So I don't know if that helps answer your question, but.
I hope that's all helpful to you, Donna. Let's take the next question.
Our next question is going to come from Jack Sculley. Jack, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Jack.
Hi, Representative Eshoo. I really appreciate your setting up this event. We're lucky in California to have good governance from people like you.
Thank you. We want to do everything to make this work for you. We appropriated a lot of money, and I wanted to get out to all of you. Tell us your question.
So my wife and I have a business partnership. We set it up in Hawaii to do global change biology research and advocacy. We have a for-profit, it's a sole proprietorship. We have not yet incorporated it in California. And we have a 501c3 nonprofit, which does the advocacy. And that's been approved at the federal level. But since we just moved to California, we've sent the application into the state to get incorporation status here. So my question is, which of these programs would be appropriate for us? Should we apply for both of our for-profit and nonprofit? And finally, the third question is, we will be filing our 2019 return, in May, so we don't have that tax return yet for lenders. So can we use our 2018 income for PPP? And our income in 2018 was supported by renting out our home in California. And so would any of that be covered or credited?
Okay, so lots of different pieces there. Let me see if I can catch them all.
Sorry.
So for as far as like the number of applications or the type, I mean, I would defer to you as to how you're structuring those businesses between the for-profit and nonprofit. Are they affiliated? Are they consolidated? Or do you have two totally separate businesses you do totally separate accounting and financials and separate tax filings?
Totally
If
separate.
they're totally separate, then I would apply for each entity separately. So
Okay.
whether you want to do PPP for one and EIDL for the other, or combination, that's for you to decide, but I would definitely apply separately.
Okay.
And then the income for PPP, at least, if you read the rule, it's going to look back at what your payroll costs, per their definition of payroll costs, are for basically it's 2019, or if you weren't in business for all of 2019, they'll look back 12 months. The fact that you haven't filed your 2019 taxes is okay. I mean, most people haven't, I don't think. So that's okay. What they'll do though, they will do the 12-month or the last year look back in order to get the baseline of what your payroll costs were at that point in time. And then they, can do the, that's how they're going to make the determination for payroll costs. So if you look at the formula in the interim rule, that might help you when you assess what you roll into that and how you factor it. And the fact that your taxes aren't filed yet is not a problem.
Gotcha. Okay. And it does not only W-2, I believe you said, since we're a sole proprietorship, we just document what my wife and I paid ourselves and our third employee, and then that would be go on to the application. Okay.
Yeah, and there's and when you look at all the compensation pieces, there is $100,000 cap per employee that includes you and your wife individually for the year, for the 12-month period. So even if you guys earned more than that or had more than that, there is a cap on this particular program of $100,000.
In conservation, I wish we earned more than $100,000 a year, but we're in the wrong business.
I was going to say, in conservation, I don't think it goes that high, Jack.
Yeah.
It should, but it doesn't.
I know. My brother's a hedge fund manager, and yeah, don't get me started. So
well, good luck to you. Thank you for your good work. Thank you for your good work. Let's go to the next question.
Our next question is going to come from John Silver. John, are you there?
I think he's not there. Let's go to the next question.
Okay, the next question is going to come from Dominique. Dominique, are you there?
Yes, hello.
Hi, Dominique.
Hi, how are you?
Good, I'm fine under the circumstances. Thank God, healthy. How can we help you?
Yes, the thing that I haven't been able to get clear on the PPP program, not all of us are super into the finances and of understanding. And as a small nonprofit, I just kind of want to be clear. So once we've got all of our figures and the loan has been approved, I kind of want to understand how this is going to play out over the coming months. I've already seen that 6 months without paying, and then we pay and the term is 2 years. So does that mean that at the end of that 2 years, which is really essentially 18 months that we'd be paying on, it's just going to automatically be that we don't owe anything? And then also, is the interest still incurring in that 6 month period where we're deferred?
Yeah, yes, the interest is going to accrue during that 6 month period. So here's how this program is unique because of the forgivable portion. So here's what will happen if you apply, you're approved, the bank disperses the funds, and then you covers the 8 weeks. The 8 weeks in theory starts from the date of disbursement of the funds, and then whatever portion is forgivable, when we get later down the road past June 30th, which is the end date for this program as it stands right now, the bank is going to have some sort of process, and this is a question to ask the lender what they're going to do or how they're going to do it, because different banks could do it differently, but they're just going to verify that you use the funds the way that was intended, so that, you know, at least 75% of those funds went to support payroll and those associated costs, and then no more than 25% went to other costs. So they'll probably have you do something to submit whether it's a form or whether it's a sign off on something to say you did that. They'll be then funneling that to SBA, and then that portion will be forgiven. So if that's 100% of your loan, you're basically done. If there's still a portion that you need to pay, that's when the terms will kick in. You know, you'll have accrued the interest, and then after the 6th month, you'll have to start the payments, whatever those monthly payments work out to be.
So, okay. So if I understood what you said properly, then after, we're not going to pay anything until that 6 months. And at that 6 month time is when it would actually be calculated to figure out whether the entire loan amount would be forgiven, or if we spend it properly and that loan amount would be forgiven, or if we need to actually begin paying because it wasn't used properly. Is that?
I imagine they might do that before the 6 month period, but that'll be a good question to ask your lender, like when in time they're going to be doing this. I think right now they're very focused on getting these loans approved because, you know, they've been inundated as well, and getting the money out the door. And then the phase 2 will be the forgiveness piece and what they're going to need to document, and how they're going to interact with SBA. There's some behind the scenes interaction that they'll have with SBA and in our computer system for how they're going to document that. But I suspect it will probably happen before 8 months, but that's some of the stuff we're still confirming. And so I would say watch for some of the details on that, but definitely ask your lender that question too, to see what their insight is for that institution.
Okay, and sorry, the last part of my question actually has to do with the combination of the EIDL loan and the PPP, and that if 75% of the loan for the PPP is for your payroll and you use up that 25, but for instance, our organization has very high rent, and so even that 10,000 would be very small in comparison to what we owe. Could the 6,000 that's under the 10,000 potential under the EIDL loan go towards rent, or is the 10,000 EIDL loan also still really for payroll purposes?
Well, the 10,000, remember, is just the EIDL advance, and the EIDL loan can go up to 2 million. So there's kind of 2 parts to it. The 10,000 is meant to get you working capital quickly. And I have not heard that there's a restriction on how you spend that, so long as it's, you know, used for your business expenses. But I can try to clarify that as well. But I've not seen that there's any restriction on that because it's all under the same program. But then if you wanted to get more money under that to pay some of the other expenses, things that didn't maybe fall under PPP, you know, because remember, we don't want you to duplicate benefits under both programs. Then in theory, yes, you could get EIDL, another, 100,000, if you will, under EIDL, under those loan terms, to use to support your other expenses, working capital expenses and things that you have.
I hope that was helpful to you, Dominique. Let's go to the next question.
Our next question is going to come from Catherine Bailey. Catherine, are you there?
I am. Thank you so much for taking this question. I've been trying to work on this since this program was announced. I'm a cafe owner. I operate in colleges, hospitals, and government buildings, all of which are ordered shut down, and I have no access even to the property. So restarting for a takeout service, much like if I was a restaurant in a mall, is a non-option. The property is closed. I have roughly 50 employees. I would love to take the PPE loan out, but I cannot take a loan that I have to pay back. So it's only worthwhile to me if I get forgiveness. The challenge is that this, as I see it, twofold. It says 8 weeks. So let's say I take the loan, I file, I get the loan, I take it out in June, but the California Community College District says, you know, we're not opening up until fall. So you're closed down now until September. So I get a loan that I have to start using in June, which takes me, so now I have 8 weeks of payroll and rent, but I have no business. Then, and I wouldn't even mind that because I'd be so happy to pay my employees to like remop floors, right? Because they desperately need the income. But the challenge is then the lender says, well, I'm sorry, you didn't need this loan to stay in business. You didn't generate any income. We're not going to forgive it. So now I've got a $200,000 loan that basically comes out of my personal pocketbook. To me, this loan is only useful if I can apply it when the business restarts. And in the food and beverage industry, we don't know when that will restart. And the criteria of forgiveness is based on how closely you rehire based on your former full-time employee count. And it doesn't make sense to imagine that we can rehire all of our staff back because people will be slow to come back in, specifically in my industry where, for example, at my hospitals, visitors aren't allowed. So I have 8 locations in the Bay Area. One hospital is allowed me to open and we're at 25% of sales, which is below. So what do I do with the loan when the lender says, maybe I would never take out a loan when I wasn't 100% clear whether or not it was going to be forgiven. That would be irresponsible. And 8 weeks won't apply for the food and beverage industry. I can't quite wrap my head around why there isn't a unique loan for an industry that is being decimated. 50% of my colleagues who own restaurants in the Silicon Valley are closing for good. This is the conversation I'm having with you right now is the conversation all of us are having with one another, and no one understands. And I've spent 2 weeks talking to the most educated CEOs and bankers and financial advisors, and nobody can give me the answer. So I'm desperate for your reply.
And so I think from the SBA side, I mean, we're kind of, this is a new program. So we're locked into the terms that were placed on us and the authorities that were given to us under the CARES Act to implement this program. But I do know that, you know, you've got, you know, Congresswoman on the phone today and others that are, you know, hearing what's happening. And so, you know, they have all this additional insight. So I know that they will take that into consideration, I'm sure, if there's other programs or other things that can be done in the future. Right now, unfortunately, the way it stands today, like I said, everything's changing, right? Everything is fluid, but the way it stands today with the way the legislation was written, we are locked into the June 30th deadline. Now that, like I said, that could change. If there's new legislation or other things that come down the pike, that could change. As far as doing your calculations, I mean, you know, it's different for every business, right? So some businesses in the food industry, maybe they can't open in the way that they normally would operate, but they have thought about bringing back employees and they're doing other things. They're expanding maybe their delivery options if that's an option for them, or they're looking at other projects and other things that these employees can do in order to satisfy the requirement in the PPP program. So I know everybody's situation can be a little bit different. And if you know, I don't know if you find it useful to talk to an advisor to see in your situation what can be done. And then also looking more broadly if there's other programs. I'm not as familiar with the state of California's programs, but that might be something to look into as well to see if that's more advantageous for you.
I hope that's helpful to you, Catherine. Let's take the next question.
Our next question is going to come from Richard Kramer. Richard, are you there?
Let's go to the next person, please.
Our next question is going to come from Eric McChrystal. Eric, are you there? Eric?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so my question is, there are many banks that are up and running and others that are not. My bank is Citibank. They keep telling us that it's coming, but as a first come, first serve, are we still okay waiting and waiting and waiting for them to come online?
I mean, all I can tell you is that there is still money available. It's not been used up, as the Congresswoman pointed out at the top of this town hall. But it is first come, first serve. So as banks are submitting these loan requests for approval into SBA, obviously, more money is being utilized. So I can't give you a time frame on that, unfortunately. I can't predict, but so if you want to talk to other lenders, of course that is your decision.
And right, and what I've heard from, I'm in a small business group where I'm a franchise, and our other franchisees have a Facebook group where we all post about different banks. And from what I'm hearing from all the other franchisees is that if you don't have a lending relationship with these banks, they're basically shunning you to the side, saying, "Hey, we're only working with our known account holder, are now unknown small businesses that we've been working with." So yes, I could go out of state and try to find other banks, but from what I'm hearing, that's not successful either.
I would say, keep trying the different banks. I've seen some people have posted in the chat the different banking groups that they've worked with, and their some of the successes and some of the struggles, but I can't refer you to any particular lender, but definitely I would say keep looking around, and also be aware that some of these banks, like the Fed announced today, there's a press release on the Federal Reserve Board's website about how they're going to try to help support some of these, especially these smaller community banks that don't have quite the resources to lend as some of the big banks might have. So I think things are still changing and evolving, which is why I say you might want to keep in conversation with your bank, or still explore others, because things behind the scenes are still changing, and the bank's internal policies may change as a result. It may not, but they may, because they may have some more resources available to them in the very near future. Julie,
are credit unions in this as well to lend?
Yes, we have several we have many actually that are already approved SBA lenders. And then, we're onboarding, I'm not sure what the total number is now, but it's over 100 new banks, I think, that have applied to participate in PPP. So there will be some new resources coming into the mix very shortly as well.
Good. I hope that's helpful to you. Next question.
Our next question is going to come from Andrew Heller. Andrew, are you there?
Not there. Let's go to the next one. We have a hard stop. Julie has a hard stop at 5:45. So let's see how many more we can take. As many as possible. Let's take the next one.
Next question is going to come from Garrett Chan. Garrett, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi,
okay,
Garrett.
Hi. Thank you so much, Congresswoman.
Sure.
Last year, California passed Assembly Bill 5 that required employers to apply a test to see whether a person should continue to be an independent contractor versus an employee. And so many of us in these small businesses made a change to bring them on as employees starting January 1st of this year. But as we've heard before, that there are, the lenders are looking at the 2019 tax returns and other proof of payroll, but they exclude the independent contractors who are now on our payroll. So I recognize that this is a unique situation to California, and it's really dependent on lenders and their individual criteria. This is more of a question of, can future legislation help address this issue of our new employees, because the amount of money is less because they exclude independent contractors from the 2019 payroll.
I will also just throw into the mix that the start date for the PPP was February 15th. So you can, in theory, count, if you had payroll, if you actually had employees on for 8 weeks prior to February 15th, that can be included in your calculation. And when you talk to your lender, ask them what they want to see from you to document that, whether it's financials or other things that you might have. But that is a possibility and a way to help determine because of your unique situation.
Let's go to the next question. I hope that was helpful to you, Garrett.
Our next question is going to come from Glenda Evans. Glenda, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Hi, Glenda.
Hi, I appreciate all of this. And most of my questions have been answered, so I really appreciate it. I think the only thing that I wanted to ask is I was seeing in the chat how I think Angela wrote that she'd applied for a loan and hadn't heard anything, but other people were hearing back and getting their advances quickly. I applied on March 27th, and I know my credit report was checked by the SBA, but I haven't heard anything, and I don't want to bother anybody, but I'm just curious, what should I expect? And I saw 3 weeks from somebody else, so I'm just kind of wondering, trying not to be a pest, but very just kind of worried.
So I would say, so then your loan number starts with a 2, correct?
I think so.
Okay, because March 27th would have been before the EIDL program, the EIDL advance was eligible?
Correct, yes. So I had to go in and reapply for the advance.
You did? Okay,
yes.
good. So then you have the 3. Okay, so that's perfect. So definitely in the queue. So you should be hearing, I mean, I know this is not reassuring or comforting and you want exacts, but literally any day now about the EIDL advance, and then the rest of the loan, whatever additional amount can take longer to process. So that could be, a couple more weeks, but that EIDL advance, you should be, if you haven't, check your email every day, please, because you should be getting that notice. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Imminently.
Okay. So one other quick, I don't have any employees. I'm just myself as a sole proprietor. And so what you were saying was it doesn't matter now. I could still be considered also for the PPP if I don't get anything else.
Yes. And how you because you don't necessarily have W-2 income, but there's other compensation that counts. So double check the rule for that definition. You can see what accounts for you.
Terrific. Let's go to the next question.
Our next question is going to come from James Terse. James, are you there?
Yes, I am. I applied for the SBA loan just like the last lady. However, the routing number that I put in there was not correct. Is there any way I can contact SBA to get them the right information?
So you should be contacted by the loan officer because they'll have to get you closing documents before they can disperse any funds. So at that time, I would definitely tell the loan officer that there is a mistake. Hopefully, I mean, I haven't seen all the closing documents, but I'm hoping they're asking you to verify that that number is accurate anyway. But to the extent that they don't, please note it when you talk to the loan officer and you're getting the closing documents.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, James. I hope that's helpful to you. Well, my watch says that it's 5:44, so we're a minute away from Julie having to go off the call. So let me just offer a few comments. First, 1,000 thanks to Julie because there is so much content in the questions. And as I said, This is a woman that has been with the SBA for 23 years, and I think everyone can tell that she has been. I want everyone to know that on another issue, representing a good part of Silicon Valley, there's some uncertainty among startups about whether they can qualify for assistance under the PPP. I've contacted the SBA, and the day that the legislation became law, urging the SBA to waive its affiliate rules so that startups can access this really important economic lifeline. Startups are truly the smallest of small businesses. So I want you to know that I'm on that like white on rice. I haven't heard back from the SBA yet, but if they don't put in the waiver or activate a waiver, I'm going to work to get it into the next legislative package that Congress will take up, because as I said, the startups really need help as well. Let me close on this note. For those of you that didn't get to have your question taken, and there are more of those than those that we got to answer, please type in your question into the chat box, and we can circle back with you and get your question answered. I think given the over 1,000 participants in today's call, really calls for more of these meetings, and we will set them up, arrange them, and hopefully Julie will be with us because she clearly has a wealth of information and can do a deep dive on everyone's question. So in the meantime, everyone, this is a holy season for people in our country. In the Christian tradition, it is Easter, the major holy day in the Christian world. In the Jewish community, it's Passover, and not that long down the road, Ramadan will be celebrated. So we all need to pray for our country. Think of the families that have lost their loved ones, and that even though we are separated, we really are in this together. I want you to know that I will do everything that I possibly can do, and then some, to assist you, to answer your questions, and to make sure that these programs and the monies attached to them flow out to those who need the help, which is all of you. So I thank you for participating. And again, type your question into the chat box. I don't want anyone's question left unanswered because what it means is help to each one of you. So God bless all of you. God bless our country. And we're going to come through this. We're all being tested. As I said to a friend last night, America's heart is broken into many pieces, but America is really showing the heart that she has. So thank you to all of you. And we will continue doing these, and we'll reach out to let you know when the next meeting is. Julie, 1,000 thanks to you for the incredible help you have offered to people today. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie, again.